How is? How's it going? I'm back again. Some of you seem fascinated by this red dot on my nose here, this red square that sometimes goes up here and there. That's called rosacea. It's a genetic disorder. It's not a rash. I don't feel it, but it's a genetic disorder that affects people of either Celtic or Viking background, and I'm both, so I get a double whammy. The camera actually makes it look much worse than it is. If you see, if I move down, it vanishes. It's just that I have this pointy Protestant nose, and the camera sort of focuses on it first. But in real life, you're talking to me. A lot of people don't even see it. In fact, a lot of people had not even noticed it until they started watching these videos of the phone. It's a funny one, all right. It does some days. Sometimes it goes completely and vanishes completely. Other times it doesn't. It's just a weird thing. But some people have it really bad. They get like real big rashes. It goes from their nose underneath here and stuff like that. So I've got it easy. It's just that it makes me. You just see this pointy Presbyterian nose. It's just hitting the camera first, but it's not really that. That doesn't bother me at all. It's a beauty mark, okay? And yeah, so don't worry about me. And what was I going to say? So I had some mad dreams last night. I had this dream last night that I was that the world, an alien invasion had happened, and how it happened was they released these orbs onto the earth from the sky. You know, when you see those orbs in photographs, and it's like digital photographs, they released billions of them, and so you were surrounded by them. And if you inhaled one, you had these sort of really nostalgic experiences, not like dreams, more like trips of people that you loved and lost, people that died on you, people you'd fallen out with, and you'd been transported back to the moment you were together. I don't know, they came back into your life, but you have the same feeling of bliss and love and happiness and joy that again with them again. So it was like people were becoming addicted and they were sucking these orbs in to get all this this kind of sense of like lovey-dovey feelings from the past. And then at some point the space unfolds, and these spaceships or alien or interdimensional craft came out of the void and invaded the earth, and commercial and military aircrafts are falling out of the sky like an EMP. And but what happened was the aliens, you didn't see them, but they communicated into your mind. And the aliens said that if anyone wants to live under our control, sucking in these nostalgia orbs, they would be under our control, but there was free will, and those of you who don't want to live like that could live outside that world. So most people chose to live in a kind of a childlike world of, nostalgia and fantasy, which and the rest, the small numbers didn't, which I didn't, and my friends didn't. We wanted life, and it's in all its rich pageant, and I'm sure that's definitely been affected by the dreams, the realities that we've been subject to, this awful global tyranny under the coronavirus that has ruined so many people's lives. And I think the nostalgic part, or the being with loved ones part of the dream, is all about people being separated from their loved ones by being in lockdown, not being able to see them in the hospital and stuff like that. It's pretty sad. But that the dreams becomes the kind of portal that affects us. That, yes, it's not very nice at all, is it? When you think about it, people dying of cancer or old age, and their families not allowed to go and see them. Say goodbye or go to it's really bad, isn't it? And this is the coldness of bureaucracy. This is the darkness of bureaucratic tyranny, and this is how it functions. It reduces the average human being to a statistic, and they simply don't matter. At the same time, too, they know enough about us to know what makes us tick. And so they play on us with schmaltz, Like during the height of the lockdown here in Ireland, they had Mother's Day, which Mother's Day is bullshit anyway. All those things like Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, all that stuff, that's all bullshit. You should either love or not love the people around you every day. And you don't need like Valentine's Day. Here's your chocolates and your flowers. Now give me a fucking blowjob and fuck off. That's literally what Valentine's Day is for most people. Because you should love them every day. And these things are made by commercial organisations, and they've destroyed people's natural sense of emotions and stuff like that. Hallmark moments. And that's what they, and he wrote that Ryan Tubridy, that paid spook of the establishment, going, oh, I know it's Mother's Day, but, nothing's better than an Irish mammy. Would you ever fuck off out of here? This pure bollocks, pure schmaltz. And people fall for it. And Dave Cullen had a very brilliant, amazing video, his best one yet, all about fear yesterday. And he spoke about how they'll use schmaltz and stuff like that. If there's a second lockdown, they'll just have schmaltz, and they'll have just folk singers and singing songs about it. And we're locked down and get away from the ones we love. And you'll got this bullshit, And Outspan from the Commitments. I don't even remember his real name. To me, he'll always be Outspan from the Commitments. But so you have this attitude, this whole attitude with these people. Is a second lockdown coming? I don't know. I don't know, but Dave Cullen in that video, he played a blinder on that one, and especially the scenes where he showed the close-ups, almost like a criminal profiling of Bill Gates and his missus, and it's one of the most. Just watch the video if you don't really care about the rest of the thing, which you should. Watch it just for that, the way he edited that up. You have Bill Gates, the duper's delight, and the smirking. And this kind of smile, and his wife. Now, I told you what duper's delight is. Duper's delight is when a pathological individual is telling a lie and getting away with it. They have a kind of what I call in my book, Puzzling People, many years ago now, an autoferal impulse. I first noticed that as a kid, who stole my toys as a kid, and we had toy tanks and soldiers. And he stole one of my tanks, like an Airfix model tank, and put it in his pocket. And I said, "Did you see my tank?" And he goes, "I don't know where it is." It's the first time I ever saw it. The Duper's Delight smirk. It's they get a rush of adrenaline from having duped you and getting away with it. And about Bill Gates and his missus in this video, it's like they don't even care anymore. When he even says, "Oh, you don't get it now, you will get it when you get the second second viral outbreak." It's like are these people like caricatures or cartoons? But Dave Cullen is right. Don't fear. I know. It's out of control. One of the things I discovered was, remember last year there was a deranged psychotic smear campaign ran against me by a woman who thought she was going to be my soulmate and lock her husband up in a psychiatric hospital to get it. And when I found out what those people were all involved in, I blocked them. They went on a mad smear campaign against me. And what I discovered then was how many cowards and weasels so many men were. So many weasel, cowardly men. They didn't care about the facts. They just wanted the adrenaline of the hysteria of joining in with the pitchforks. And I discovered, how many weasel, cowardly men are out there. And I thought that was quite a surprise thing. But then you find out when the Rona thing happens, there's weaselly, cowardly men everywhere. And you see them all. You go to the normie message boards like boards.ie or the comments in the journal.ie, and it's like, "Oh, jeez, I'm frightened, I'm scared, I'm terrified, I'm frightened, I'm scared." Just I don't know whether they're really terrified, where it's a sense of sanctimony to feel that they believe they're on the winning team. I think that's a big part of that kind of carry-on, that we're on the winning team. Join the winning team with the pitchfork mentality. Or if it's about a genuine terror, I don't know. I think it's more inclined to be it's a mixture of well, no, they say that the neuroreceptors for terror and for terror and excitement are the same thing. So it's why we go to fairgrounds and go on to roller coasters and things like that. And it's the same thing. There's a sense of terror, but a sense of excitement as well. And you see that with a lot of weak men. Weak men. See, if you look at lynch mobs and pitchfork crowds, it's always weak men. It's men who are weak. And they're weak in their everyday lives. They're generally weak, pussy whipped by their women and stuff like that. And so therefore, it gives them a sense of excitement that they don't normally get in their regular everyday lives. So the fear thing is almost like, oh, I'm afraid I'm going to die. It's also like, I'm enjoying. Very interesting stuff. Like I said, this Rona thing has been the greatest education you'll ever get. Ever get. And, next to going through something like a divorce or something like that, or a smear campaign, that it's an incredible education into human psychology and human behavior. The mob is like a third entity that exists outside of the. A mob is like it exists outside the normal human behavior. It's outside of that, and it's fascinating to watch, because the human almost like micro evolves or micro devolves into a kind of another version of a human being. And that other version of the human being is what the politicians and the bureaucrats and the media are trying to keep alive to sustain the corona lockdown. So, like for instance, in Ireland, they've just said the pubs are not going to open again. Now, they can open a pub if you have a restaurant in it, so it favours wealthy, publicans who have like big restaurants and staff. And I say about half the pubs in Ireland are probably restaurants anyway. The other half are just like family pubs that are just open casually for the locals. And don't give me this crap that it's a rural thing, it's destroying rural Ireland. Urban pubs serve exactly the same. Urban small pubs serve exactly the same pub function as rural neighbourhood pubs. That's bullshit when I hear these people say, "Oh, it's a death of rural Ireland." No, not all. Dublin is not signified by the pubs and Temple Bar ripping off the tourists. All over the city, in small neighbourhoods and local neighbourhoods, there are small local pubs where people go to meet their neighbours and socialise because that's their life. Okay, so don't give me this rural, urban thing as the same as small town Ireland or smaller city Ireland. The neighbourhood pub is everywhere, not just in rural Ireland. You can be just as much socially and culturally isolated in a large city as you can be in a rural area. And so these pubs are being basically wiped out, ethnically cleansed, because they're the bedrock of the Irish cultural mindset. That's where we are. It's like that scene in the Quiet Man. I think I'll go down to the pub and talk a little treason. And that's what we used to do. We used to go to the pubs and talk treason. And that's why they filled them first with big TVs blasting British soccer on 24 channels non-stop. So everyone was sitting at the bar like this with point a snout in their hand, looking at the screen going, I hate the British, but I'm a West Bromwich Albion man till I die. Switch on the other channel. There's a game between MK Dons and Cambridge United. That's how they got them first. And the second thing they got them now, they got them a lot of the small pubs have taken out the Sky TV in recent years because it's a rip-off, and also people didn't want to watch the football on the British sport celebrate their celebrate their Irishness as expressed by a British corporation. That's what Irish barstooling football fans are like. And not only they started vanishing in recent years. So people they woke up was all bullshit, and they took the Sky out, and treason started being talked again. Now they're shutting the pubs down completely. We're the only country now in Europe. The country that invented the pub is the only country in Europe now that doesn't have the pub. Just think, all over the world, there are Irish pubs in every corner of this world, because humans all over the world know there's something special about an Irish pub. They want that experience. They want the pretty girl serving them the food. They want the lovely food you get in an Irish pub. They want the beer. They want the atmosphere, the wood, the artwork on the wall, the Celtic artwork. There's something beautiful about it. Quite rightly. Old signs and a throwback to a different time, and all over the world, just like people love Italian pizzerias and stuff like that with the wood-fired oven and all this kind of thing, or the German beer cellar. But especially nothing has impacted on this earth like the Irish pub. It's everywhere. It's universal. Even in Muslim countries, there's Irish pubs. And again, because people see that like, isn't this lovely? And we're having it, it may not be complete. Well, it kind of is kind of authentic because, yeah, in Ireland, in the pubs, you do have a pretty girl bringing you your meal, and you do have the Celtic art and all those old signs on the wall and old the wooden carvings and all that stuff. So yeah, it is kind of authentic. It is. It's not bullshit, really. It's, I know it's marketed globally, but it's still based on something that's real. And, the only country in the world that doesn't have that now is the country that invented it. The only country where there's no pretty girl behind the bar pulling your pints, having a laugh with you. There's no fun and games. There's no one telling jokes. There's no one. The country that invented it is the only country that doesn't have it, and they tell us that that's for our own good. It's a fundamental attack on our essence as a people. On our essences. I would say that Irish pubs did more to bring, say, the English and the Irish together than anything else. The English people love Irish pubs, the ones in England. They'll go to them specifically. And those pubs brought English and Irish people together better, more than any politician or anything else. And, sport or anything brought us together. And made us realise we were the same. And the country that invented it, it's been switched off. It's just like, sorry, Paddy, off. And that's you tell me that's not a deliberate attack. You're a fool. You're a fool, especially you'll see the RT, that's Ireland's version of the BBC website, and it go the pubs to remain closed for another 6 weeks. And there's a picture of a pint of Guinness with the you just see close up with a pint of Guinness and the handle being pulled and the lovely frothy creamy chocolatey head on the pint of Guinness. And it's like, you can't have this. You're not getting this. It's evil. It's fucking evil. And anyone who can't see it now is a fool. And they have a balance between people realizing, watching these videos, and Dave Cullen and John Waters and lots of other people, and who are making videos about this from Ireland and stuff like that. And they're watching that, and they have there's a battle now between the ones who are our tribe, as I call them, and the normies. And the way to keep the normies in that sort of psyop is to keep them terrified. So right across from that picture of the creamy pint being pulled, no pub for you. Right, it's a picture of. There's an article saying 159 new cases, 2 new deaths. Every day, government concerned about the children. Will the children be safe? Teachers' unions say, will the children be? It's all planned. It's pure propaganda and mind control, and so. But they have to keep the terrorized. The ones who are getting the adrenaline rush from being I'm terrified the Rowan is going to kill me. The ones who are like at the height of it were like talking about, there's bodies in the hospital, my brother, sisters, cousins, Uncle Mary, and his second cousin's third uncle's friend's best wife said that there's 17 people dead in the hospital. They're all over the floor, and fucking eyeballs coming out with the Rona and everything. Those types. They're starting to reach peak. They passed peak excitement, and the adrenaline and the drug they were getting from that was starting to roll off. So now they're in danger of being twisted around into normies, from normies into one of us, or at least becoming a little bit more cynical. And what happens is they have to ramp up something new to terrorise them. So the thing is that they close the pubs a bit longer. That says, oh, jeez, it must be really bad if the pubs have to be closed a bit longer. No, they're torturing us. Not they're playing mind games with us. None of this stuff. Now, you see that, this is like any other thing in life, that this is a huge class warfare thing. See, one of the reasons you had the golf, if you go to all the sports clubs around, all the posh sports clubs around Ireland, and it's loads of them. Every Irish town has one of these, and the cities are packed with them. Tennis clubs, rugby clubs, mainly tennis clubs and rugby clubs, some cricket clubs, and then you have kind of things like Lions clubs and kind of like pseudo Freemasonic clubs that would have pubs in them, right? Not the Freemasons, but there's some of those that have pubs and restaurants in them. They have been flying ever since they've been allowed open again, because they all have restaurants in them. I, as a kid, used to work in a very posh South County Dublin as a dishwasher, and then then a bar, like in a bar club in Dublin, and those places are packed right now. It's a class thing too, and the reason why that golfing gala with the 81 spooks went ahead in Clifton in Ireland in defiance of the lockdown was because of that same class system. Their same thing is like, well, all our clubs are open, aren't they? I was down the tennis club last week and I was able to get like 20 pints and have a steak, just like in the north, just like if there was no Rona. And I was down my tennis club last week. I was down my I don't know, athletics club, rugby club, cricket club, whatever, blah blah blah. Lots of that goes on, and it's not just like in Dublin and the rest of the country. There's rugby clubs all over Ireland, and they all have their bars and restaurants open, and they've got beautiful restaurants and everything in them, and it's all systems go. And so to them, there had been no drastic change, where there's lots of people, they can't afford to eat in restaurants all the time. So they wouldn't go to these places, and so they'd be cooking at home, which is, nothing wrong with that. But I'm just saying, they wouldn't have the choice to go and have lovely food cooked for them in a restaurant. And all those clubs all remained, well, as soon as the all clear was given that you could have like a substantial meal, not worth less than €9 and a pint, you could go to a pub. Well, all those clubs all opened. They all opened up. And those ones going to that gala event in Clifton, that was just business as usual. They were like, that was just there to laugh at the peasants. Ha 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 ha, they can't have a pint. But we can have all the pints we want, because we're the elite who are calling the shots during the Rona. We are the senior civil servants. We are the spooks, bureaucrats. And, if you don't see the class elements of this thing, you're laughing. You need to get your head. You see what happened in Melbourne. It's council, although they've locked the whole city down, they've given special treatment to people who live in public housing neighbourhoods, so apartment buildings where it's public housing, they've locked them in. See, it's a huge class thing. Well, you see, you look like Bill Gates. He's an aristocrat. That's why he's controlling all this. He comes from money, serious money. Before his dad even bought his first computer, which would have been back in those days, been like, if your son was interested in aviation, you buying them a Chinook helicopter. That's literally what his childhood was like. Suppose your son was interested in Dad, I'm interested in aviation, and you'd go, I'll tell you what, the next time there's an air show, we'll go to it. Oh, brilliant, Dad, that's great. And and I get some money to go maybe get your flying lessons at a local club. Oh, Dad, that's amazing. Well, his family was like, Dad, I'm interested in computers. Okay, I'll buy you an IBM one. This would be the equivalent today if a kid is going, Dad, I'm interested in aviation. Okay, I'll buy you an F-16. That's literally the kind of money that he came from, and the start that he had in life. And that's why you see the class system all over this thing. All the class system, it's all class system, and even in the micro level, it's class system. It's picking mostly on the working class and the lower middle class. The ones who run the businesses, the ones who are trying to hustle for a few shillings, those types, picking on them. And the same with the pubs. Working class don't go to these and even the lower middle class, and even the middle class. Well, maybe the middle class do, but the lower middle class wouldn't go to these country clubs and these tennis and cricket clubs and rugby clubs. So they don't get their beer because their pubs are closed. And it's that's what happened with that golfing event. That was like, we're not the peasants. We can do what we want. That's really what that was. And I got a message from someone whose dad was involved in that the other day. He's an alright. He's an okay guy, but he was embarrassed by it too as well. But it's like, I think some people would have been led into it without actually thinking about it. They weren't thinking straight. But I'd say but all the political ones, if you weren't a direct politician and involved in that, maybe you just weren't thinking right, or you're just thinking to get away with it. But if you're a politician involved in passing laws and restrictions and going to that thing, you're an absolute disgrace. That is a class system. You think the law doesn't apply to you, and so it's just to hurt people and to keep them frightened. Now, this whole thing of the second Dave Cullen seemed kind of particularly sure that there might be a second lockdown. I don't know if there will. But he's right, though. If there is a second lockdown, it would have to be much more draconian in order to induce more fear. But it could still happen, though. But I don't think it. I think that, I'm still of the mind that they're going to milk it a little bit longer, and then, without using the term herd immunity, they will bring in herd immunity, and they'll have a thing like, it's time to return back, and they'll have, like, and I'll be in your country, it'll be the same, but in Ireland it'll be like shots of the Irish countryside, and, fair colleens picking flowers and daisies, and, like, nice traditional music playing, lintling piano, and going, it's time to go back to the Ireland that we love, this kind of fucking bullshit, and all schmaltz. We know you've been separated, and a door in a country cottage opening, and a mother going, he sees her grandchildren, this kind of thing. It'll be all full of schmaltz like that. And like the pub door opening and his friend going, it's time, and he pulls a pint. We are back. It's time to rebuild our nation once again. It'll be like that. And it'll be in your country as well as mine. They'll ramp up the schmaltz. And then the whole angle the government will play was, isn't it great that we saved you from the Rona? Aren't we amazing? Aren't we brilliant? Aren't we fucking great? Jesus. And he'd have the politicians go, say what you want about Leo, but he was just poured into that white coat, wasn't he? Oh, jeez, I was getting turned on. Oh, when he was wearing that white coat fighting around it. Yeah, that's what it's like. Ah, dear. And all the horrors that happened during it, like the things like old people dying in the homes, and which are basically organised kill zones, and the people who couldn't see their relatives dying or had to be buried alone or didn't get the last rites. You know me, I hate the Catholic Church and I hate Christianity. Well, I don't hate Christianity. I don't hate Christians. It's just that I'm fully aware of the horrors that Christianity has unleashed upon this island, and I'm not ashamed to point out what it is. And I don't think it's our religion. It never belonged here. And but that doesn't mean I hate Christians or people who go to mass and stuff like that. My freedom is what I believe in: freedom of religion, freedom of expression, freedom of movement, freedom of association. And so I'm not saying they're rotten people or anything. I'm just saying it's that's why. So that's another thing too with the. I was watching, is Elon Musk, like I've been telling you for years that they want to put a chip inside. Well, actually, they want to control our thoughts. I never said a chip inside us. And you go back to like the 90s and no, not the 90s, but like the early 2000s and that kind of conspiracy world. You have the likes of Aaron Russo who claimed, he's probably telling the truth, that the Rockefellers wanted to put a chip in people to control them. And, the that whole kind of thing, right? And looking at that now, they've already got it. It's on your credit card, your debit card, your mobile phone, your iPhone. If the chip is there, it's there, it exists already. And they don't have to put it physically inside you. So people are still talking about, they want to put the microchip in us. Then they're not really thinking straight. Now what they want to do is they want to put things like the mobile phone inside you, which is the same, but you're already chipped. You're chipped to your phone and chipped to your contactless payment systems and stuff like that. So you're already monitored. And they want the chip in the brain, and the chip in the brain, means that you can never get rid of it. And they'll sell that as like you can watch videos in your head. You can watch Thomas Sheridan's videos in your head all the time. There's a thought for you. And this kind of thing. And all the Egypts who, all these young people who worship him like a god because he smoked weed on Joe Rogan will run up and get it. But that's... So, that they know that it's all going... You see, people think it's going to be forced. The vaccine is going to force... It's all going to be forced. None of it's going to be forced. It's going to be by choice. Now, the reason for everything and the Rona stuff. And I'm going to get kind of philosophically deep here now. Fundamentally, you know when they say, now this is like, you know, this is the primary reason I'm against Christianity. Now hear me out, okay? Cultural reasons more than religious reasons, okay? Christianity, like Islam and the Jewish, Orthodox Jewish world, is a product of the desert, okay? We are not desert people. And in the desert, this is where the hatred of nature comes from. All the people of books, as you call them, your Judeo-Christians, unlike the native European pagans, they all believe that they were cast out of paradise and are possessing of original sin. And this expelling from paradise left them in the desert as a wandering wilderness people. And these wandering wilderness people, whether they be Orthodox Jews, Christians or Muslims, control the psychological paradigm of the Western consciousness. And we all have a belief that somehow there's something wrong with us. This comes directly from Christianity imported into Europe initially. And this belief that something is wrong with us must be addressed. And this is where the whole idea of the whole thing of like getting a chip inside you, vaccines because your immune system isn't good enough, being altered through psychology and psychiatry, having being told you're neurotic and they need to be fixed, having told that your brain doesn't work good enough and it's got to be repaired with a chip, and all this all comes from the initial desert culture, folks, and the bringing their culture here. We Europeans and native peoples all over the world were not cast out of paradise in our mind as part of our psychological background, and we loved nature. We loved the wild forests of Europe, the mountains, the rivers, the lakes. You will find that these people, it even shows in the climate change things. There's humans, and then there's nature. You ever notice that the climate change bunch talk about the environment? There's the environment, and then there's humans. There's nature. Humans are never part of nature and the environment. Because why? Because that Judeo-Christian concept of being cast out of paradise is driving that as well. We're not in paradise, we're outside of paradise. We've been thrown out because we pissed off Jehovah, or whatever that thing was, right? And that spell exists in Europeans as well. We have the mentality of the sand folk, but we are not sand folk. We are the folk of the lush northern forests, the fast-flowing rivers, the fertile regions of Central Europe, the abundant oceans of the Atlantic and the Mediterranean. We are not people of sand. We are not cast out of paradise. Our ancestors knew they lived in paradise. That's why the pagans named forests after Diana, and Sintra in Portugal is named after the Diana, the goddess of the hunt and the goddess of the moon. That's why you have the Dubliners were originally known as Tomar Muntir, the people of Thor, because you had vast groves to the north of the city that were celebrated where the god Thor lived. We loved our wild wilderness. We loved our mountains, our lakes, our rivers, because we were not sand folk. And sand folk ultimately believes, because of original sin, that sand folk has to be fixed, repaired. So you have psychology, psychiatry, chips. You don't have a proper. You don't believe. This is the biggest conspiracy theory of all. Is the conspiracy theory that these people have, that we don't have an immune system, that we have to have vaccines. Now I'm not saying anything. I'm not anti-vax, by the way, or anything like that. I don't know enough about it. There's definitely a lot of science to prove that some vaccines do work, but some is not all, and that doesn't mean you have to have an unconditional love affair with them like these people do. But and this is where the whole thing of the chip in your brain and trying to make you a super person comes from. In Elon Musk, it's the sand folk mentality that we have original sin and we have to be repaired and we have to be fixed. And that's what all comes from. You know, like when a pagan looks at a baby, they see a beautiful child that's perfect. When a sand folk, Judeo-Christian, Islamic person looks at a baby, they see something that's rotten with original sin. You have to cut off its foreskin. You have to submerge the creature in water to wash its filthy sins away. Then or if he's older, 15, you have to circumcise him or her. That's how the sand folk sees a child, where a pagan looks at a child and goes, that's the most beautiful, perfect thing in creation. A Judeo-Christian Islamo type sand folk looks at a baby and goes, what a filthy, filthy thing. It let down God. Let's cut the top of its penis off, half drown it in cold water, or cut off its penis or its clitoris when it's much older. You see why I'm a pagan? You see why I chose paganism? Now, I don't see that. You might go, that's ridiculous, I don't feel that way. No, subconsciously, my friend, if you pick up your child when their baby is born, and you're an Irish person or an English person or an American, and you bring that down to the doctor to have its top of its cock chopped off or submerged in water by a paedophile priest, you are saying to yourself, my child is imperfect. That's what you are saying. And the reason why you think your child is imperfect is because the culture of the sand folk of the desert has put that inside you. You never think about that one, do you? And that's why we've been so easy to control all these centuries since Christianity arrived. We've been told that we are sinners, we need redemption, we need to be fixed. And that's really a very, very powerful thing. And you don't get over that easy. You don't get over that easy. And I got a fucking screen here and I can't get rid of it. This would have to happen now, wouldn't it?